Hello, and welcome to the Borealis Experience. I'm your host, Aurora, and I'm very excited to have Clinton with me today. We will be talking finances. Your financial health is so incredibly important when it comes to your relationships, but also your own health, your mental health. And this is why I want to raise awareness that there is so many people out there who have the knowledge and who are willing to help you, sometimes even for free, like in this case here with Clinton today, to make you aware of how to get rid of your debt, on how to get a mortgage, and how to be more stable when it comes to your finances. And this in turn will help you to live a more fulfilled life. Hi, Clinton.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. I'm very excited to be doing this episode with you because I know it's very important for people to hear your message and, to learn about what people, wonderful people like you, are doing out there and supporting people with their finances.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks a lot for having me again. This is my second episode, so I'm very appreciative. I really like your podcast. I've been telling lots of people that they're great and they need to check it out. So, yeah, like I said, I'm very happy to be here again. So, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for making the time.
For
So
sure. And you?
let's just jump into the most juiciest part of finances. When it comes to debt, I think most of us people out there have debt. And how would you say can debt be aggressed? I wanted to say, but addressed quickly. How can a person feel more stable and comfortable when it comes to their debt and trying to, tackle it?
Yeah. So, I mean, debt from one person to another can be, there's a big difference between them. So, I sat down with someone who was just stressed out with their debt. They didn't know what to do, and she only had $1,500 that she owed. It wasn't very much, but she was stressed out, and I could tell she was very stressed out about it. But I reassured her, actually, you're actually in a pretty decent situation. Statistics across Canada right now show, the average family is $30,000 in debt, and it's probably more than that now. So there's a lot of debt problems in Canada, and there's help out there. People don't know that there's help or where to look, but there is help. Whether it's budgeting, trying to show them, where to spend money, where not to spend money. That's great as well. But when it does come down to debt, there's different options. So it depends on how much debt you have or what you want to do with your debt. But there's a lot of different options. Bankruptcy obviously is the last option. You don't want to go that route unless you have to. But there's consumer proposals, there's debt consolidations. There's loans you can get, personal loans. You can even wrap up your debt into your mortgage if you have enough credit. But yeah, there's a lot of areas where we can help people with debt. And I've been, obviously the economy here in Alberta and Canada hasn't been the greatest. It's been the worst I've seen ever since I've been alive. And yeah, more and more people nowadays are reaching out and needing help because it's a tough situation right now. And I'm always happy to help people. And obviously, I sit down with people and help them either save money or have more money, help them out with their debt, and changes their life. They're happy about it. They really appreciate it. And it also makes me feel good for helping people. That's one of the reasons why I do what I do, is because, financial health is important. And it's one way that I can actually give back to the community and help out.
Beautiful. Just before the interview here, we had a little chat. We were talking about divorce and how it is very difficult for people, going through the emotional stress of divorce, but then also the financial stress that can be enormous. What are the experiences with clients that you've made there?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, people don't think about financial health as a health issue. Of course, it's money. People worry about their weight or eating habits or their exercising, all that health. But when people, look at financial health, people that are in debt or they're struggling, that causes them stress. Stress can, lead to depression, anxiety, social disorders. A lot of people actually, when they are in debt, it changes them as a person. They don't feel whole. They don't feel complete. But yeah, and then when it comes to marriages, like I'm not sure the exact statistic, but I read recently somewhere, I think it's like 50%. Most like all marriages in Canada, 50% of them end up in divorce, and that is a sad statistic. But we've been finding, the number one reason why people are getting divorced nowadays is due to finances. You know, Something happens, a guy gets laid off, or he doesn't have work or something. All of a sudden, bills aren't getting paid. The family's not taken care of, and it causes stress in the household. There's fights, there's all that stuff. So that's kind of one area that's making divorces rates go up there. And I mean, it's a huge thing, especially today because of the economy. We recently in Alberta had the oil crash. A lot of jobs were lost, a lot of companies left Alberta, a lot of people were laid off. And in return, now because all these people aren't working, people aren't spending the same money. Companies aren't, buying stuff. So it affected all industries, such as, the construction industry, people, like I said, retail and restaurants, no people aren't spending as much money in those areas. So it's affecting all industries. So that's a big factor. So yeah, like I said, when it comes to financial health, um, and divorces and stuff like that, finances are a big thing. So, I mean, I've been following a Alberta family law page, and I've been seeing, a lot of single dads or whatever struggling. Like they're making like $100,000 a year, and they're renting an apartment, sitting on a pull-out chair because they have to give all their money to the mom and their kids to raise the kids and stuff. And I mean, obviously, you don't want your family to go without supplies they need, but I mean, it's not a system that's helping people. A lot of people are struggling because of it.
Mm.
And yeah, like I said, it leads to a lot of stress. I mean, I'm not sure if other people know this as well, but the suicide rates in men right now are skyrocketing. Like I say, when people are stressed out, they're in debt, they don't know where they're getting money from, but everyone's asking them or forcing them to pay the money. They don't have it. It causes huge stress. And like I say, a lot of people are, it's sad. And I see a lot of like single dads who are happy people, happy family man, and they will commit suicide because they don't know what to do. So obviously, that's something I want to prevent. Go out there and help people with their finances so that they do see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's tough right now, and people just need to understand there's help out there. So
Yeah. Oh man, I was imagining that mental health is strongly being affected through COVID and the economy, but I didn't know that there were numbers out already, and that is very, very scary.
so these numbers are actually before COVID. So you can imagine COVID making everything even worse. I forgot to mention that before, but yeah, COVID is the next step after the oil crash, the recession, the economy crash, and now we have this COVID, which is icing on top of it, right? So, yeah. So like I said, I've been seeing a lot of stuff like that, and it's sad, but there's help. You can reach out there help. There's a lot of advisors out there looking to help people, and people just they either aren't getting the help they need, or they don't know what's out there, or they don't know where to look. So
yeah. And I find it very hard to find people that you can really trust, because there's lots of scammers out there. You don't want to go to your bank because you think, oh, they're going to just do it to their advantage. But then the other people that are out there pretending to help and then not helping you at all. It's a jungle out there, and it's very scary to trust someone with your money. That's why I'm very happy that we met and that I know that the crew behind you is trustworthy. How do you get about, like, how do you advise a person when they come to you and say, hey, I want to learn how to save money? What are the first baby steps that a person can take in order to be more stable, in order to address these problems and instead of running away from them?
Yeah, so it's I'm glad you brought that up because there's a huge trust issue when it does come to advising.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you go to a bank, you think they have your best interest at heart, but they don't. You know, their main job is to make the bank money. So they're selling you credit. They're selling you things that might not even help you. They're probably helping you get into debt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great thing that you brought that up because that's the first place people go is banks. But there are people out there that work for companies and they're being pressured by their managers to sell. So I mean, you're right. Trust is a huge thing. Just because a person's helping you, say getting life insurance or investments, they're out there to make money for themselves. So you do see a lot of pushy people, salesmen trying to take advantage of people. So it's a big factor. You got to trust the advisor you sit down with. So that's why you want to make sure you're sitting with a nice and friendly person who's very transparent and open, and he's actually he cares about you. He wants to make your life better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome you bring that up. And then second point, so yeah, like what can people do? So first off, it's kind of it's very similar to your mental health, your physical health. First of all, you need to identify what the problem is. So the first thing is, okay, why am I in debt? So the first thing you can look at is, take a look at where your money's going. First of all, like you need to track what you're spending your money on. And then that way that creates a baseline, a starting point. Okay, I'm spending money here, here, and here. So this is where budgeting comes into play. Okay, well, I'm spending a whole bunch of money on, liquor and booze or cigarettes and money, for food and here and there, dine out all the time. So now you know where your money's going. Mm-hmm. Now that you can make a plan to cut certain things out. Mm-hmm. So that's the first step. The second step is even harder. So once you know what you're spending your money on and what you need to cut out and stuff like that, now you have to create a budget and follow it. Mm-hmm. Because people realize, I spend too much money here or there, but they never put a plan in place or they don't think about it later on. They keep going back to their same routine. So that's why, writing it down, making sure you see where your money's being spent, what you spend your money on. Then once you identify the areas where you need to cut back, then you can create a budget, but then you have to be disciplined. You have to follow that budget. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, a lot of people use life coaches or, financial advisors, just to say, hey, I have this much money. What should I do with it? Obviously we're going to say, make sure your family's taken care of, your bills are paid first, your food's bought. And so you want to prioritize things and make sure you're spending your money the right amount in right places. Mm-hmm. So that, that comes down to, like I said, discipline. You want to make sure all these things are dealt with. And then the last thing you want to look at is, okay, now you have extra money, then what can I do with it? Mm-hmm. So yeah, all that good stuff.
And when it comes to investing, so now we looked at, okay, where is your money being spent? Where can you be a little more careful? Where can you cut back? And with the little bit of money that you have, would you advise that people who just struggled recently, that they think of investing that money? Or is it safe to just keep it on the savings account and to wait until you have more saved up? Do you know what I'm
trying to... Yeah, so that's a good question as well. I mean, there's a lot of areas where you can invest your money. So first off, you need to get kind of educated on what options are out there. Mm-hmm. So obviously the first place a person is going to go to is a bank, a savings account, because they think it's the most secure places. There's just better options than the bank. So, I mean, you put your savings account at a bank in a high interest savings account, you're probably getting 0.25% growth, which isn't much. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's a rule out there called the rule of 72. It's the rule of compound growth. Mm-hmm. It was brought up by It was actually designed by Albert Einstein. He was going to call it the eighth wonder of the world. But anyways, the way it works is you take your annual rate of return, take the number 72 and divide it by your annual rate of return, and that will tell you how much your money doubles. So obviously, if your money's in a savings account at a bank growing at 0.25%, I'm not sure exactly what the math. I think it's probably like 100 or 200 years before your money will double, right? So there are better options out there. Myself, I can set up tax-free savings accounts, getting these safe portfolios doing 5 to like 12% rates of return.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, you need to know your options. I mean, obviously, there's another way to invest is trading. A lot of trading starting to get really popular, but people are not aware that it's very risky. You can actually lose most of your money when it comes to trades if you don't know what you're doing or you don't manage your money properly. Things can happen and you can lose your money quick. So, first off, you want to find someone that's, very knowledgeable in investing area, and you want to make sure that you're investing in a nice, safe place, but you're also getting good returns, because what's the point of saving money if it's not growing?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I wanted to talk about is inflation. Like, because of our economy right now, it's not doing very well. People are getting laid off. No one's getting more money. They're getting less money, but cost of living is going up every year. So there's a huge problem with that alone. But I mean, if your money's not growing more than 3% to stay on par with that inflation, your money's not necessarily growing. It's actually shrinking. It's dying, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you're talking to an advisor. You want to look at a lot of different options, the ones that best fit your needs. So we actually have a statistic across Canada, sitting with an advisor, talking with an advisor, you'll probably have 5 times more money in retirement. So there's lots of areas to invest. A lot of them have different risk tolerances with them, but you got to find which one meets your needs. Mm-hmm. Could be risky investors who are okay to take those big, gains and losses, hopefully getting those good returns. But then there's some people who are very conservative and they don't like seeing ups and downs in the markets. They just want to see a steady up. Mm-hmm. So you can look at, guaranteed interest accounts, GICs, stuff like that. So like I said, it just depends on what type of person you are, what your tolerance is. Mm-hmm. And then, but sitting with an advisor, they can show you all those options, and then you can find a vehicle that helps meet your needs.
Yeah. Awesome. What would you say is the minimum amount you need in order to start investing? Like, just very, very plain answer. If it's $100 or no, it has to be over $1,000. What is the amount where you would say, no, that's realistic to start investing?
Okay, so that's a very interesting point you bring up. So obviously, like I said, today's economy is not very well. People are struggling.
Yeah.
So statistics show in the 1980s and 1990s, people were saving about 18% of their money into savings. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, that's more like 3%. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge, huge decrease there. On average, when we sit down with clients, we say, as a rule of thumb, it's good to invest 10% of your income into savings or your financial plan. Yeah. So that's, that comes down to a lot of things, even with personal development, running a business, they tell you want to, whatever you make for the year, you want to invest 10% of it back into yourself. So, reading good books, taking courses, personal developing, becoming a better person. And that's, similar with savings. Whatever your income is, there's no specific dollar amount, but it's whatever your income is, on average, you should be saving around 10%. Mm-hmm. People who can't save 10%, at least start the habit. Mm-hmm. Because, some people you just need to start that habit first, because once you start that habit, it could be a very small amount. So if people can't afford it, we're looking at maybe 5% investing into yourself. Mm-hmm. But you just want to start that habit, because once you do start that habit, say you're saving $25 a month, mm-hmm. After a year or two, you say, oh, hey, you know what? This has been growing. This has been working well, but I can afford more money. So maybe you want to start putting $50 away. So it's a habit you want to create, because you want to create discipline. You don't want to get into a habit of, saving for a year and then spending all that money. Yes. So, it's your money, you want with it, but I think the most important thing is to at least start somewhere. Yeah. Something that you can afford, But like I said, you just want to start that habit, create good habits so that it just becomes part of your life.
Yes, beautifully said. And like you said at the beginning, it's just like for mental health and your physical health, you have to have that consistency and that sense of, I want to even say, self-worth, to know that it is not only a rich people's thing to invest money and to make more money. People with less money can start and put money aside and create that habit, and then get there one day. This is very critical to say. I wanted to ask you, when it comes to your finances, and finding an advisor out there, how can people, like, I met you coincidentally here on my Facebook, but how can
Yeah.
people, we will make sure to put all the links and all your contacts in there. But how do people otherwise find people like you? Because you're not out there advertising it on TV or radio. Um, and then secondly, what are the books that you would recommend us reading in order to become more aware of our finances and spending habits? But first of all, how can we find advisors like you?
Yeah, so that's one of the big things that kind of disappoints us about most financial companies and firms and banks.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some big names out there. I don't want to mention names because I'm not here to badmouth anybody, but some of the big banks, some of the main financial companies that you recognize the names, they won't even sit down with you unless you have $100,000 or $200,000 sitting in a checking account.
Yeah.
So first off, there's people out there who, they're only looking for high net worth people. So that leaves, the middle market and everyone else out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no money in it for advisors to go help broke people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of one disappointment there.
Huge.
Yeah. So I mean, myself, I see our company, I see a huge disconnect there.
Yeah.
So I just like to go out and meet good people, have good conversations. I'm not here to push or sell anything on people, but just by talking to them, you find out that they're struggling either with a job or their finances. And I just try and provide solutions for people, like, hey, maybe we should sit down. Maybe I can help you out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not picky. I'm not going to go, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of money or less money. I actually want to help. Those are the people that need the help the most.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people out there, even people that have their finances in order. I can even help those people out because, like I said, looking at a second opinion, you sit down with the first advisor, you take their advice and you think they're golden, but they only told you about their options. So there's other options out there. So it's good to have a second opinion, get second opinions from other people because there's a lot of options out there people aren't aware of. So there's that one thing as well. Another thing too, when sitting down with some advisors, they have a fee. People need to pay a fee to sit down with them. And I mean, if a lot of their expertise is valuable, but you got to pay for it. Like there's broker fees on top of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it's, more of the wealthy people that they're taking care of. And we see a big problem with that. So like I say, I just, I look for people who are struggling, people that need the help.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people out there who think they have their finances in order because they sit down, but I'm like, you know what? There's better options out there. Let's take a look at your financial plan. They might be set up, but I can show them better options that either helps them save more money now, or I can put, a couple $100,000 more in their retirement account so that they save more money or just have more money. So yeah, like I said, it's another thing too, you're not going to get help with your finances unless you reach out and ask people. So it's not just, those companies reaching out to you, sometimes you got to, bite the bullet and be like, hey, you know what, I could use some help, and then go look for it yourself. Right. There's a lot of resources out there, but you just got to be careful who you talk to. Like you said, it's all about trust. So, I mean, you go to a company, a big company or a bank, you're sitting down with an employee that you don't even know. So they're just there to do business with you. Whereas, I like to get to know people. I like to learn about your friends and family, see how your summer's going. I keep in touch. And I like to create that friendship bond and that trust relationship because I want them to know that I am there to help them. Their needs come first.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing too, there's like a lot of banks and those big companies. Once they sit down with you and help you out, they've made their money. You'll probably never hear from them ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Finances change. Like even 6 months or a year, your finances change. So I make it a habit to at least follow up every 3 to 6 months. First of all, to keep that relationship. I like to actually be friends with the people I help. I'm just that type of person.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to see how things are going. Hey, has anything changed in your life? Hey, do you need help in this area? Things happen, and I'm always there to help people. So yeah, like I said, it's just people just aren't aware that there is help out there. They just either need to find those people or reach out. So
Yeah, no, that's very, very good. And what about some books that you read that changed your mindset when it comes to finances? Can you recommend?
There's some good books. So one of the book that comes to mind is called, and a lot of people don't know this is out there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's called the 10 Secrets Canada Revenue Doesn't Want You to Know About.
Uh-huh.
So just an example, it's a small book. I think it's really hard to find, but I think you can get it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard it is a little bit harder of a book to read because obviously the government doesn't, they want your tax money, right? So it's just a book. It's a book It's a book that teaches you how to, cool strategies people use to save money on taxes. So just an example, life insurance is there to protect your family and stuff in case something were to happen. But some of life insurance products I have come with an investment portion attached to it. So these are called insurance tax shelters.
Yeah.
So it's another way to tax shelter your money,
Mm-hmm.
without the government getting their fingers in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one tip. I think that's secret number 8. Secret number 9, is being self-employed. Being an employee, you're getting taxed 30 to 40%. But if you were to, you say you worked a trade or you did a specific job that no one else could do, you could actually break off of that company, start your own company. When you're self-employed or a business owner, you get taxed 15, 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, you're getting taxed less being self-employed.
Wow.
There's pros and cons between being an employee and self-employed.
Yeah.
But one of the big ones is, how much you're getting taxed. So, as an employee getting taxed, say you make $100,000 a year, you're getting 35%. You're only taking home $65,000.
Yeah.
But if you're making $80,000 and you're getting taxed 15%, you're taking home the same amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a good book as well. Another one is there's a guy called Darrin Hardy, and he's wrote some books. I believe the 3 most popular ones he's written are called The Entrepreneur Rollercoaster. That's more so how to run a business and just be a good person, all that stuff. But the other books that really helped me out was called the Compound Effect.
Very good.
So that book was huge in my personal development. Not only does that help, people's finances or success, it also helps with your relationships and lifestyle. So remember how before I told you about what, if people are struggling with debt, what's the first steps you can do? When I say, first off, write down what you're spending your money on so that you can create a baseline. Then you can create ways to what you need to cut out, and then you can make a plan to move forward. I've learned all that from the Compound Effect. So it's to do with, money and finance, but also to do with your lifestyle as well, relationships with people, or your bad habits and stuff like that. So that was a huge one. It teaches you more of a discipline, how to be more aware of what you're spending money on, or, anything to do with that. So that was a good book. And there's another one called Living Your Best Life Ever by Darrin Hardy. I haven't read that book yet, but it's more like a peak performance kind of deal. So Darrin Hardy I think he's the president or owner of a magazine called Success Magazine. And yeah, he's just, he started out as a realtor. He did some of these, I think he used to sell water filters and stuff like that. I think he did Amway for a bit. But he ended up being a realtor because that's what his family business was. But then he branched off, and now he goes off and he interviews wealthy people that are making lots of money or succeeding in life, and he picks their brains because he wants to know how people become successful. And then he writes books and he teaches everyone else how to be successful. So those are some good books that I read that helped finances and stuff like that.
Very, very good. Man, this was very precious, I feel, for all of us listening, like for me as well, like a lot of stuff that I was not really aware of. And very precious information you shared here with us. I will make sure to put all your contact info in the show notes. So don't wonder if people are starting to reach out to you, hopefully, if they have.
No, I would really appreciate that. I'd be happy to help more people, obviously.
Yes, no. Yeah. And especially in those tough times that we are all trying to navigate through. And I will also put your book recommendations in there because I feel they're very insightful and would help more people out there. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we'll talk very soon again.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me. I hope you found lots of value out of that. And I hope a lot of your viewers can, take some tips, and I hope it helps them as well. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this interview. I hope it brought you, insight and hope when it comes to your finances. Don't feel alone with this. We're all together in this. And as you heard, there's people out there who are willing to help you, willing to make you feel and be more resilient with your finances in the future. Subscribe, rate and review this podcast if you love it and if it became part of your life and bringing you joy and relaxation, self-reflection. Thank you so much, Aurora.